We are farmers, literally. We all have full-time farming jobs as well. And this was just something we were doing on the side. And just to sort of see how far we could take it initially. But the further we got, the more invested I think we got, not just financially, but, genuinely in our hearts that this was a really great product and it had real legs and was really worthwhile. R&D for us took about 3 years, partly because of that COVID gap, but also because we're not just having a go at this at home on our own.
Hey guys, it's Mandy with Global Hemp Association. I wanted to say thank you so much for joining. I'm excited about the opportunity to build a relationship and connect this supply chain. I mean, after all, that's why we started the association. Our association was built on the foundation of connecting supply chain, building relationships, and helping you grow your business. Anyone from farmers, manufacturers, and distributors, people that are passionate about the supply chain, and those creating products selling into biofuels, plastics, textiles, construction, and building materials.
And we're live. Hello. Siobhan, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for joining me. I was just smiling at that last video. I always giggle every time I watch it and watch the evolution of podcasts and all the guests that we've had on. It's been pretty dang fun. So thank you very much for everybody that's been listening and chimes in often. We have hundreds of videos published online on our YouTube channel. You can find all of our podcasts on Google and Spotify and Amplify and a bunch of others, Apple. So please, if you are catching this now or later, let us know where you're chiming in from. Say hello. If there's any questions, we'll keep an eye on the comments tab. So please, chime in at any time if there's anything that comes up. This is really set up for you guys to connect and get to know each other. And so I'm excited about the opportunity to have you on, Siobhan. Thank you so much. Before I keep rambling, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, how you got into this industry, and where are you at in this world?
Yeah, good morning, Mandy, and everyone that's listening. So yeah, my name is Siobhan O'Malley, and I'm actually a dairy farmer in New Zealand. I live on the west coast of the South Island in New Zealand, and really quite a remote place, just inland from a little town called Hokitika. And although I'm a dairy farmer, I am also one of the co-founders of luxury knitwear brand Hemprino. And what we do is we combine merino wool with hemp fibre to make beautiful, soft, all natural fibre jerseys and accessories like scarves and hats. And we do it all from the tiny country of New Zealand, which, if you don't know where we are, we're just a little bit below Australia, and we have 5 million people in our whole country. But we are pretty world renowned for producing incredible merino and also dairy products. But more to our point today is we're just entering the world of hemp, really. So in New Zealand, we don't produce hemp fibre. So that's one of our challenges here at Hemprino, but we have managed still to create really beautiful products.
Well, and I can attest to this because I'm wearing one of their sweaters, and I've worn it a number of times now, and I love it. I always get tons of compliments on it. So can you talk really quick about some of your other product lines, and how'd you get into this? How come you said, okay, hemp is it?
Sure. So it's a long story, really. I went on a course for farmers in New Zealand, which is called the Kellogg Rural Leadership Program, and it's related to the Nuffield program, which some of your farmer listeners might be familiar with. It's kind of the step back from that one. And I did that in 2018. And when I was on that program, I was hearing about things outside of the world of dairy farming, which is my normal world. And that included the world of fibre and also this kind of macro trend that hemp was this coming thing. And this is just before it was, I think it was legalized in the States to grow it again and things like that. So it was really a hot topic at the time. And I just thought, hey, wonder what would happen with hemp being such a strong fibre if we blended it with merino instead of what we're seeing a lot of, which is wool blended with acrylics. And I think if you're trying to make a product that has real, genuine, authentic green credentials, you concentrate on making a product that's going to biodegrade at the end of its life. And so for us, or for me and my co-founders, that became a real foundational stone for us. So I was on this course and I didn't know anything about the world of wool and fibre and hemp. And The only person I did know was a guy called Paul Ensor, who was on the course with me, who is a high country farmer. He grows merino on his farm. And so I said to him, hey, Paul, can we do this? And initially he said to me, why would we do that, Siobhan? And I said, look, I think it would be a great opportunity to make a soft but strong natural fiber blend. And, he fully got on board. So now he's my co-founder, and we did some travel. We went from New Zealand to Shanghai in China to try and talk to wool spinners and yarn spinners. And this is all in 2019, and that was all going really well, and we kind of found someone to work with. And then, of course, 2020 happened and stuff got way harder. So we did manage to push through with a trial with one of the larger wool spinners in China, and that produced a yarn for us that actually came out of Europe. But you can imagine getting, sample yarn all the way to New Zealand from Europe during the pandemic was pretty tricky. So look, it just dragged on. And in the end, we kind of came back from trying to make a worsted product to making a knitted product, which we could do onshore in New Zealand. So yeah, we did that, and then eventually brought on another one of the farmers that was on that same group with us, the Kellogg Rural Leadership Group. And she has, that's Harriet, and she has experience with sales and marketing. So she was massively influential in actually bringing the product to market. So we launched in 2022 in April with an absolute minimum viable product. We had one jersey in one color in one style. And that's the Pioneer that I'm wearing now in a really limited run, but immediately we had success. And so we've made some more yarn since then. We've expanded our product range to include a navy and also a really beautiful dark green called Kia Green. And yeah, we've got crew necks, V-necks, hoodies, hats, scarves, neck warmers, all kinds of beautiful woolen garments, wool-bean garments with hemp, and all of them are 100% biodegradable. So at the end of life, they have a beautiful long life. They're woolen jerseys. They will last a very long time in your wardrobe. And we've gone with really classic natural colors that will work. They work in the boardroom, they work in a brunch at the weekend. They're very versatile garments, but they, at the end of their life, when they're no longer used, they will be able to return to the earth. And that was a big part of our ethos.
Okay, so can you talk to me a little bit about the R&D process on the biodegradable aspect, right? Because this is something that really, again, I was shocked and taken back by about how many plastics or how much dyes affect the biodegradability of a garment.
Yeah, no, that's right. And for us, that was all a big learning curve, because again, we're fashion outsiders. Like, we are farmers, literally. We all have full-time farming jobs as well, and this was just something we were doing on the side, and just to sort of see how far we could take it initially. But the further we got, the more invested I think we got, not just financially, but genuinely in our hearts, that this was a really great product, and it had real legs and was really worthwhile. R&D for us took about 3 years. Partly because of that COVID gap, but also because we're not just having a go at this at home on our own spinners, right? Like, we had to do this with partners in a scaled way, and that meant 100, sometimes 50 kilo yarn minimums, which just is expensive, but also it means if you stuff it up and you've got a batch that doesn't work, the blend isn't right, or the percentage isn't right, that it's a big waste. So we're really happy with what we've come to, which is actually 80% merino and 20% hemp. And we also did a lot of fabric testing along the way. So we were trying to get to a stronger yarn, and it's not stronger in a statistically significant way. So I guess in some ways we didn't meet that goal that we had initially, than standard merino. However, what we didn't anticipate was what other benefits the hemp would have to adding. And that's what's been really incredible for us as part of the R&D. The more you wear these jerseys, the softer they get. And that's sort of counterintuitive. A lot of people think of hemp as a fiber as being quite scratchy or quite coarse, but the apparel grade hemp, that fiber that we're using, is so soft. And the more you wear it, the softer it gets. And so what is a cozy, snuggly jersey at the start actually just gets cozier and softer, and you more want to wear it as time goes on, but without losing it.
I wear it on my bare skin. I don't have a t-shirt under it. And I didn't think that that was going to be the case when I first got it, right? I thought that I was going to have to wear it like a wool sweater, like
Yeah.
but it's very soft. I love mine. And I wear it often.
It's really nice. I'm pleased to hear that, Mandy. But it's quite hard to communicate how soft it is.
Yeah.
And we're an e-commerce brand, right? So we don't have a store that you can go in and feel it. So it's hard to communicate both how soft it is and also how light. Like as a jersey, absolutely understand you wear it without anything underneath on your skin because it is that soft, but it's also that light that you can. And it's a sort of all year round mid layer is what we've kind of determined it to be. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good description for sure. So talk to me about some of the similarities in hemp and wool.
Similarities. I think there's more differences maybe than similarities, but
can you talk about some of them both? Yeah, like what are those both?
We struggle to find hemp fiber in a length that is similar to merino, and on a fiber level, but we can find it in similar micron. So that's how we try and match up hemp fiber. And hemp fiber also doesn't take the dye the same way that wool fiber does. And so what we've ended up with what's called a melange look to our garments, which is kind of like a speckle. It's hard to describe. Maybe you can describe it better than I can, Mandy, but it's a sort of like light white that's sort of visible through the garment as you're wearing it, which is actually the hemp fiber that you're looking at because it doesn't take the dye up in the same way. So it's nice.
You can kind of see it in my shirt, in the fabric.
Mine.
Yeah, I love it. I'm even more excited to know that that's what the white specks are, is that.
Yeah. Well, if you're a hemp enthusiast, like I assume that the audience are, then it's a real bonus. But if you're just a regular jersey buyer, it can be hard to describe. But it's nice. It gives our garments a real distinctive look as well. So we're really blessed in that the blend that we've come out with has this beautiful soft and light quality, but it also has a really distinctive look with this melange. And the feel of it is also really unique. It's lighter and softer than a pure merino garment. So it's been a challenge. And also the strength is obviously stronger. So in terms of fabric testing, we do burst tests and things like that. And the hemp is stronger than a merino fiber on its own. And together, the hemp fiber and the merino are a little fraction stronger than merino on its own.
Sure. Okay. Interesting. So did they obviously blend well together? Right. I mean, you hear a lot of, the type of spinning plays a role in a lot of things, or the obviously fiber size, the micron or diameter but what are some of the challenges that you see with blending,
Yeah, we have been incredibly blessed as a tiny startup of, as I said, 3 people who are not working in the fashion world to have really great partners. So we work with a company called Wool Yarns in Wellington in New Zealand, and they have done a lot of the hard yards for us in terms of the blending process. And so I know that there were significant challenges, but I also know that they managed to work through them. So I think if you had a much higher percentage of hemp, you might run into more challenges because of that, the strength of the hemp fiber and the fact that it doesn't behave the same way that wool does, and that that equipment is set up for wool. So we've been really lucky in that our partners have helped us work through that. We have also had issues with knittability. So after the hemp and merino yarn is blended, and then we try and knit those into jerseys. Again, we've really relied on our partners here to help us with the knitting process and setting it up so that the end product is beautiful, smooth and finished, and we haven't wasted huge percentages in the machines just because of some of that flyaway hemp that it gives it the melange look can also create problems in the knitting process. We think we've got the recipe right now, so it's lucky.
I think so. I think it's great. Okay, talk to me about challenges in sourcing your hemp. You kind of mentioned that, especially through COVID, right? Where are we now? Where do you anticipate changes for the better?
Yeah. So for us, part of our product with being from a very small country, we always have intended that this product will end up being sold internationally. And so as part of that, we've trademarked our brand name, but we can't patent the technology or the blend, right? Because I've already said to you, we do an 80-20 mix. If we patented that, assuming we could, which we probably can't, someone else could just do, 79-21 and have more or less the same feel and get around the patent. So we've always been trying to build brand and kind of our perspective on it. And what's difficult there is the supply chain. And so New Zealand does not grow hemp fiber at the moment. It grows some beautiful hemp food and cosmetic products. There's some really lovely brands here like Brothers Green who make an incredible hemp as a food product. However, as your viewers may or may not be aware, the fiber variety is a completely different variety of hemp. And the real secret sauce is in the processing, right? That happens after that. So currently in all of New Zealand, that's not a thing. We can't do that yet. And scale issue, but also just the manufacturing side of things, the processing side. So what we have is a challenge then to find hemp fiber that goes with our beautiful merino. New Zealand makes incredible merino, not a problem. We have New Zealand Merino Company to source that through, and they have beautiful checks and stories. And of course, my co-founder is a merino grower himself, so we can tell that story from the farm. What we'd love to be able to do is tell a similar story for our hemp fiber. But like I said, it doesn't exist in New Zealand. So currently we're buying our fiber out of China from effectively a wholesaler. And that has been because we need it at a certain micron, at a certain length, at a certain quality to make apparel at this luxury end of quality. So for us, it is a sort of endless challenge to try and find someone. And, hey, that would be a fantastic outcome of me coming on today's show with you, would be to be connected with someone in the US or Canada, for example, who grow fiber, who can process it to the right level. And then we can help, tell that story in two directions. This is the merino origin, this is the hemp fiber origin. But we're just so picky about what we need in terms of the hemp fiber. It has to be right in order to create, this beautiful feel that we've got. So, yeah, that's been a huge challenge for us.
So how do people get in touch with you if they're interested in sending a sample or talking to you about what they're doing? Processing is definitely coming online, and it's definitely advancing, especially over this next year. And so fingers crossed that it won't be long that we'll be able to do that. But yeah, how do people reach you?
Look, if there's someone that's, watching this and that has the kind of apparel grade fiber and that story that we can help tell together for our brand, probably just our email at hello@hemprino.co.nz, or really any of our social channels on LinkedIn or on Instagram. We're at NZ Hemprino. Yeah, just look, we'd love to hear from anyone that's got a lead for us in that department. That would be really, really amazing. Yeah. But also just to connect with other people that are producing fiber for apparel and interested in hemp like that. Like, I think it's a really exciting world. I think it's the more we move into this natural fibers in apparel and trying to slow down fast fashion, I think, hemp has a real role to play. So I'm really excited about where hemp fiber can go. And, one day I would like to see it in New Zealand as well. But as a country, we're just not big enough to get there yet. So part of Hemprino's job is to create a market for hemp, and hopefully then our growers can get on board. But yeah.
I think it's great. Consumers are who are really going to drive this, right? And being able to get it in the consumer's hand, get material in the consumer hand. So hats off to you, because you've done it. You've got a material, you've got product. We in the industry are always saying, we just need one, like just get it going. There's right. Said 50,000 materials. Each of us focus on one. And so congratulations. It's very exciting. And I know that there will be a lot of support. So I'm excited to share this interview and highlight what you have. I'd love also if you'll send me links. I actually think that I have them, and we can talk about it later, but I'd love to add this to our newsletter so that people are aware of other products that are out there. And so we'll add a little link with, how to find find you and some of your products potentially. And so everybody that's listening, you'll be able to find it in our newsletter. You can register for the newsletter on the website at globalhempassociation.org. Or I think friendsofhemp.org also. You can register for the newsletter there too. So very, very exciting. Okay, so where do you anticipate, market really changing? Like what's going to be needed for you to be able to secure a supply chain locally for fiber? Or, potentially a secure supply chain, other places, what is needed? What do you see as what's needed to develop in that area?
Yeah, I think I have this dream because we're also farmers, right? Like I'm also a farmer. So I kind of come at it with two hats on. And I think as a, I know, but like as a farmer, I'm like, we need a market for this product. And so okay, I'll go build the market. And as long as we're selling these jerseys and making more of them, then this knitwear will help promote farmers to grow hemp, which I believe in as a crop on lots of levels. So for me as a farmer, I think hemp has huge potential to be grown as sort of part of diversifying a farm system. And I know that, particularly in some of those larger farms, that's not something that happens that much because you get to be specialists in a certain crop and you do it really well. But hemp, because of its properties for the soil, the fact that it doesn't take much water or fertilizer, that it can replenish the soil, it's a quick crop. Sometimes in some areas it's a 90-day crop. And so I come from a pastoral farming, like a animals, free range grazing on the grass kind of situation. And so for us, we could potentially see hemp as a crop that goes into a regrassing rotation, give a paddock or a field, 90 days off being in grass, put it in hemp, grow a hemp crop, and that diversifies my farm income. So for me, it's sort of spreading risk in that way, but also it's a great for my land, right? So to me, it's a real win-win. But if everyone's going to grow a small amount of hemp, say in a district, you need enough people doing it to have a local contract, to have the machinery and have enough produced to supply a processing or decortication plants and things like that. So that's where I know New Zealand's going to take a wee while, and by a wee while I mean probably 10 to 20 years to get any kind of scale in this area. We absolutely can climatically grow hemp, but that's where other countries will have an advantage over us, which is why, when I say I'd love to talk to another hemp fiber producer, I'm really open to that being from another country, because I think that might be just how this has to work, and maybe that could be a really cool partnership. It's such a global industry and people around the world are really interested in hemp, and so I think for us it's a cool opportunity to have the supply chain evolve and bring in people from other countries and include them in this.
Thank you so much, and thanks, like I said, for creating the market. You've done great.
Yeah.
Good job.
I just need everyone to go buy a jersey, buy a sweater now to help me in my mission to create this market. Just saying.
Please do it. Please log on and check out what she's got. It's fabulous. I see your website is posted. Let me see. It's right on your name. That makes it even better.
Yes, not an accident.
That's great. Okay, great question right here. I'm not sure if you are familiar, if you know, or can give a shout out to some different equipment names, but would love to know the type or brand of processing equipment that is best for processing hemp for apparel fiber. Do you have any recommendations? And then, are you familiar with Enviro Textiles in the USA? Shout out to Barbara and Summer.
Right. Great question. I have to say, I don't know. Like I said, in New Zealand, we don't currently have the ability to process hemp apparel fiber. And so our process of trying to find hemp apparel grade fiber has been around talking to people in other countries. So I haven't had the chance to experience the range of processing equipment that's out there, because I've been so focused on getting the right fiber and getting that from a partner. And I am not familiar with Enviro Textiles, but I will write that on my list of things to Google immediately after this. Thanks for the hot tip.
Yes, they've got a great group, great connections, great suggestions. The Enviro Textile has been in the industry. They've been doing it for, I think, 30 plus years. Barbara, and it's a mom and daughter, and they've done made a great impact, both here and I believe across seas. And so it's been fun to learn from them and what they're doing. And they may be a great point of contact for you.
It is hard yards, right? Because I do understand that we're a very small niche brand emailing people from around the world from New Zealand. But, sometimes we do reach out to people, and not saying in bio textiles because we haven't reached out to them, but, we reach out to people and we don't hear back because they're like, what is this tiny person from New Zealand contacting us about? I don't have time for this,
Well,
so
I think that's just it, right? Is the benefit of the network and the benefit of being able to, use each other's networks to make intros to move the industry along. And really that's why I set this up, is I am passionate about, like a warm intro is so much better than a cold email. And so it helps, and it helps to move things along. So however we can support you in making those connections, especially to get your hands on some fiber, or, who else may help grow the brand. But yeah, I think the best thing we can do is, support with our purchase and be able to help open the industry and, create a market. It's proof of concept. It's pretty dang awesome.
That's just it. And the more people are wearing it and seeing it in their communities, the more accepted it becomes. And people will be like, they are really nice jerseys and they have a kind of low-key logo on them. But people do ask, what's that jersey you're wearing? And then if you can then talk about the story of the fact that it is a hemp blend, that's all just moving the cause as a whole forward, because it's exposing more people that wouldn't necessarily have purchased a hemp product themselves, and they see it on someone else, or they, feel it on you, or pick up your jersey and go, wow, that's really soft and it's not what I was expecting. And I think it's part of supporting the overall goals of a hemp as an industry.
That's awesome. Or you could be like me, that literally I wear it and I take off my jacket and I'm like, look at my shirt, it's hemp. Look, it's hemp.
Obviously, I do that 24/7 as well, because I'm like, oh yes, this my Hemprino jersey. You can also get one. Yeah.
Yes. I just got some suits made while I was in Thailand, and I got lucky because I got a piece of fabric that was grown, spun and woven in the United States, and it's hemp fabric. And it's the pocket lining in my new suit jackets, and it's the same thing. I wear my jacket and I'm like, look at my suit jacket, it's got hemp in it. Like, look at my new coat.
But that's the kind of enthusiasm that's really contagious too, isn't it? When you're like, and people are sometimes, they probably know with you, Mandy, why you care about hemp, but people often say to me, why hemp? Why did you do this? And I'm like, yeah, but feel it. Like, understand this, experience it, then you'll understand why I'm so into it. Because I think it started as a conceptually good idea, and I thought, oh, that could be cool, and I think people would like it, especially with the kind of halo around what I would say is hemp food and beauty products. People have gone to that a little bit earlier. And that if they're into that, then, oh, well, surely they're going to be open to it as an apparel. And it's so amazing when you actually get hold of it and wear it. You're like, wow, this is beautiful. I want to wear this more. So for me, it's a gateway, and I love it.
Are you guys using hemp as animal feed at all on the farm?
In fact, we are prohibited from doing so in New Zealand. So, we have some really, I would say this diplomatically, older regulations around hemp in New Zealand at the moment. So, for instance, we can't do what I said in terms of having hemp as a crop and then regrass it as a pasture and then graze animals on it. At the moment, that would be illegal. And licenses to grow hemp are granted by our Ministry for Health. It's a really counterintuitive system for a farmer who's used to dealing with, agriculture ministry, or we call it Ministry for Primary Industries. So it's got a way to go, but again, like for us, it's about proving that there's a market and kind of working backwards from that, because if you believe in capitalism, then that's how you change the world, right? You create the market, you let the consumers show you that they want this product and that they value it, and then you try and get the regulations to catch up. And look, one thing I will say is, since we launched in April last year, in April 2022, and we've had a huge percentage of repeat customers already. And exactly. And what better proof do you need that your product is good and that people enjoy it than people coming back and buying it in another color and buying a scarf to go with it, or starting with a hat and then graduating to a hoodie. And I think we've had, and I love those customers so much because they've also given us great feedback and critical and positive, but we've really been able to take that on board. We're really small like that, and we can hear feedback and go, oh yeah, we'll tweak that for the next round. That's easy to do. So it has been a real journey, and I just love our repeat customers so much.
I love it. Leandra, thank you so much for joining and chiming in today. I appreciate it. She says, my mission is to create a successful infrastructure here in Virginia. So much opportunity. I'll definitely be reaching out to you ladies. Thank you for the work that you do. So yes, thank you. And thank you also for all the work you're doing. Virginia is definitely coming along. I know there's some great processing facilities that are coming on board. And so fingers crossed.
I'm actually looking for an excuse to go to Virginia because my best friend lives there. So I would like to come and see you one day. That would be good.
Yes.
And actually, my co-founder Paul is coming to the States in May. So maybe you should definitely email me, Leandra, and maybe we can get Paul to come and see you while he's in the States.
How cool. Oh, yep. There she goes. She calls him out. You're right. Exactly right. Great group. They have a great team. They're well structured. And of course, they're a huge support for us, Global Hemp Association, in the industry. And so shout out to their team. Yeah, wow. They're awesome. But would be worth, what's he coming to the US for business with hemp, or
I think he has some farmer conference to go to, maybe, and some family to see, but we are also really interested in sending him on some visits for Hemprino. So if there's meetings to be had, he's put his hand up to have them. And it's nice. Obviously, it's a long way to go from New Zealand, so it's handy if someone's going already, but it's not so far that we can't also just, make the call to come over if we need to set up those relationships. Like, we want to be a long-term brand, and we have future generations in mind. Like, we all have farming families and kids, and they can't all take over the farm. So we kind of want to set up this long-term relationship so we can keep making our knitwear together for a long time. So
I love it. Well, I would highly recommend. They're a great group. If Virginia is on the bucket list, I'm happy to help make that connection as well. I've got a list of people to connect you with now. I think we can definitely help. I'll be honest. I don't know, because we don't know what those specs are. I don't know what's being provided, but I can definitely connect to processors that are well on their way to getting that figured out. Right. And it's a matter of, I think, fine tuning some of the technology that they have, or potentially adding an additional processing line, which I know a lot of them have, additional systems that are going in. And so it's pretty exciting to see the industry advance here in the US, and especially around the textile grade fiber.
Yeah, I realize it's a big ask, as I'm sitting here saying I'd really like to connect with people on apparel grade fiber, but I'm not. It's commercially sensitive what exact specs I'm looking for. So I guess I'm not. So I'm asking on the one hand, but also keeping it to myself on the other hand. So if you think, if you make apparel grade fiber, it's the really beautiful stuff in the middle, not next to the herd, and so reach out if there's something that you have.
Yep, absolutely. And like I said, I'll help make a connection with a few that I know are right there, if not there. They're supplying fiber. It's just a matter of what for and where it's going for, and really the supply on the farm side, right? What's available here in the US. Really competing with commodity prices that are record high, and having that demand so that our farmers have a reason to grow. And so it really is this chicken and egg scenario, even in some situations, I'm sure, like it is there.
And I think I absolutely agree. And for us, it's also, that's partly why we're wanting to tell a really strong brand story, right? So we don't have to pay bottom dollar for the fiber. We don't want to overpay either, but like a commodity race is what we do in our day jobs on our farms. My dairy farm sells effectively commodity milk to be made into butter. So that's part of why we want this brand all the way to consumers. I think that's what motivates us a little bit, and being part of that process, we get to talk to the end consumer, which you don't when you're a commodity farmer. But yeah, I know what you're saying. You need the market, and so we're out here creating the market. So support this as an initiative, and then hopefully we can grow the brand and therefore grow our ability to buy a whole lot of hemp fiber off farmers.
What's been the biggest challenge in the education or market, opening the market with a new hemp product?
Yeah, so I think hemp is still granted, we've only launched in New Zealand so far. Like, you can buy our product from anywhere in the world and we'll ship it to you, as you know, Mandy.
Yes.
But initially we wanted to test all our supply chains and like our sending processes, websites, and all that sort of thing. So we just started with concentrating on New Zealand, and hemp is still so misunderstood. I think we talked a little bit earlier, Mandy, before we got started, around how it's still confused with cannabis products, and it's hard to know whether to play that up and talk about how relaxing and nice this hemp fiber is to wear, or whether to just ignore it and try and talk about the benefits of the fiber, which is probably more the stance that we've taken. But by and large, people often just they don't understand, why would you want hemp in a garment? And we can obviously now talk about all the great benefits of that. But it has been challenging to get people to understand what hemp is for, what it's good for, and the benefits of adding it into your wardrobe. And also, obviously, price. So we are a luxury end brand. We are a beautiful, high-quality knitwear. And you have everyone else selling, acrylic-based clothing that is terrible for the environment when you finish wearing it, and even shedding microplastics as you're washing it. However, it's just a lot cheaper. And I know we're all aware of the high inflation environment around the world. And so asking people to spend, money on a garment, it's going to last and it's going to stack up financially eventually. But for a lot of people, it's just out of reach at the moment because of the environment that we're in financially and economically.
Well, and the fast fashion trend, this trend to buy cheap and just, it only has to last for a couple of days. It only has to last for one wear, or, there's nobody's buying anything to hand down for generations or to wear for years and years. It's this, I shouldn't say nobody. There's this trend, right, that really push.
Yeah, I agree. And that's really hard to compete with as a society's mindset. And I'm not perfect myself. It's not like I have a fiber full of all organic, natural fibers in my wardrobe. It's not the case, but I'm trying to do better, right? And I love the Maya Angelou quote, when you know better, do better. And so I'm trying to purchase more natural fibers now because I really understand now what the benefits are. I think in terms of the fashion industry, they've looked a lot at using, say, recycled plastics and things in making that acrylic, breaking down water bottles and spinning them into yarns and things, which is cool. But at the end of that garment's life, it's still plastic. It's still going to land.
It's going to the garbage, just in different form, or into the landfill.
Yeah, it's just an extra step. Like, it was going to go as a bottle, and now it's going to go as garment later on. So, like I said, no one's perfect, and we're all on a journey there. But I think, there are things you can invest in, key pieces in your wardrobe, for example, where you can use those natural fibers to help. And we wear it against our skin. Your skin's your largest organ too, right? So to me, putting natural fiber on as your daily garments makes sense if you're trying to live a healthier life. But as Wade says in the comments, one step at a time, right? Like, you need to just take it slow, to do what you can. And but I think that's part of our challenge as a brand, is that we are very committed to this natural fiber, biodegradable process, so that whatever we make is adding to the earth in a positive way. And that might mean that some people are just not ready for us. Yeah.
I agree, right? It's not everybody. And again, I think most of it is education, right? I think that there's this lack of education. There's still this disconnect when I buy a $5 t-shirt compared to a $100 shirt. That, what is the disconnect on the actual dollar exchange? The impact on the earth, the impact on the people, the supply chain, that, the number of people that touch a garment before you pay for it is it was mind blowing to me. And the more I learn, it's still, I got lucky to go and visit the silk factory in Thailand. And that was really eye opening, from spinning the silk, from, nesting in the cocoons and just
that's crazy,
mind blowing. But the number of people are hand each step.
Even the wastage, though, in the supply chain of that fast fashion is huge. And that's something you never even see, let alone the garments that get, thrown out at the end. So, but the challenge with that is that's the wrong story to tell the consumer. Like, we can talk about that. We all know that intellectually, but when it comes to a buying decision, that's actually not what drives consumer behavior.
Right.
For us, in terms of our messaging as a brand, we went from, look, guys, this is so important for the environment, to actually that's not resonating with anyone. So even though it's great and it's really fundamental to who we are, it's not what's really going to drive people to try it. What's going to drive people to try it is the feel of it, how I feel when I put it on, how it feels when I touch it, how easy it is to, run through the washing machine just in a cold wash, things like that. That's what's going to get people to wear hemp, in our case, Hemprino. And so that's what we've had to concentrate on. And I suppose that's a big learning for us since we started.
Well, Chad says this all the time from Victory Hemp, right? No matter how great it is, it has to taste good, right? He's making food out of it that's why consumers are buying it. Like you said, the driving factor is not what it's doing to the planet, or the purchase power is not behind its long-term effect necessarily. It's the immediate impact probably for the buyer.
Yeah, that's what's going to make the decision as to whether they buy or not. And like I said, we've had that many repeat customers. I know that feeling of the garment is good, and that people really enjoy it when they have it on and when they own it. And so we just need to get it in more people's hands, really. And then the benefits for us as as owners of the business is that we know what we're doing is going to be of benefit long term to the planet, and when we can sort of have our consciences clear, if you like.
That's great. I not only does it feel good though, but the cut of your sweater is fabulous, or of your garment.
Oh,
I call it a sweater. It's like a lightweight sweater. But
I need to get my American terminology right. Sorry. Yes, sweater.
No, it's okay. I don't know if I'm wrong, actually, probably, but that's what I love it. But it's long, it's fit. I love it. Randy, thank you so much for chiming in. I wanted to say great discussion, or Randy said today, great discussion, Mandy, regarding hemp fiber and clothing. Good luck with the Ministry of Agriculture New Zealand, and get hemp feed approved for livestock. Keep up the great work and advocacy. All the best.
Thanks,
Randy.
So much. Yeah. I think our best method to convince our current government would be to talk about greenhouse gases. And if we can make a good case for low emissions feed for livestock without any kind of meat or milk taint, that's probably our pathway to getting that approved in New Zealand. But it's just such a long process with any legislation. I mean, you guys know that, like, getting anything changed just takes a long time and a lot of advocacy. And when you have a very small industry, it's hard to have the momentum and the strength in that advocacy. So this is a big job.
Well, I'll tell you, I appreciate, diving in, and this is a topic that comes up, and I'd be curious what advice you have for entrepreneurs that are in this space. But, biting off and just focusing on the impact you can make, the one piece that you can focus on. And like you said, without the ability to grow it, you guys jumped right in opening a market to work backwards. And so, what advice outside of that would you give the entrepreneurs that are listening today?
I don't know if I feel qualified to really advise entrepreneurs at this stage, but I guess, like, I can only talk from my own experience, and I guess that is that. We all have full-time jobs and families as well, and so you do just what you can, and sometimes you can move a project forward every day with like an email, a phone call, and you might not feel like you are really steaming ahead, but go with progress, not perfection. That's like a little motto of mine. Like, just move the thing forward. And it did take us 3 years to get our R&D right, and it always takes longer and costs more than you think it's going to take. But like for us, it's so worth it. The reception of our product when we actually made it to market and sent out. I mean, that's such a thrill. I'll never forget the first time I was in my local supermarket, which is in a very small town in Hokitika in New Zealand. And I saw someone walking across the car park, someone that I didn't know, a stranger wearing one of our jumpers, one of our sweaters. Wow, like there it is. And that's such a thrill. And so, come at it from the right reasons, like know what you're in it for. We know we're in it for that, biodegradable story, that natural fibers, but also for the farmer perspective, for our own families, wanting that long-term vision. Know what you're in it for, and then it's okay to just keep chipping away at it. I think, hopefully the world becomes ready for your product, or it hits in the right way. But there's also you can make a really good living off of, a small market that's just really into your products. So if you're an entrepreneur out there working with hemp, I think, it's such a great opportunity. I think there's still so much that can be done with hemp. I'm very excited about it, obviously, on the daily, but, it's just something to keep at.
Well, I love it. Thank you so much for sharing today. Thank you for joining. One more time, you want to share, how do people find your product if they want to get on and buy it?
Absolutely. So anyone can buy our product on our website, which is hemprino.co.nz, or you can find us on basically all the social channels we can get on. We are on Instagram at NZ Hemprino. We're on LinkedIn. I think we're at Hemprino Clothing on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook. You name it, we're trying to be everywhere, but absolutely just reach out. And it's a very small company. When you reach out, you will get one of the co-founders on the other end of the messaging. So get in touch. Even if you just want some feedback or share an idea, look, we love to hear it, and we love to talk to other people who are enthusiastic about hemp. So we'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, I sure appreciate you. A shout out to everybody that's listening today. I've appreciated the engagement. If you have additional questions or you're catching this later on, leave a comment. We'll come back and check it, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, LinkedIn, or any of the podcast channels, Google, Shopify, or Spotify, Apple. I can't remember all of them, guys. Sorry. I only use like one or two when I look up my podcast. So I should be better about that. But I know they're on quite a few channels. And so you can find the access pretty easy. Also on our website gives a list of our upcoming events. I was just going to look. We go live next week I actually lied to you. I don't think I have any lives next week. So nothing next week, but then the following week we go live again. And so we've had 7 or 8 interviews in the last couple of days. And so we'll have quite a few new interviews posted on our YouTube channel. Other than that, you guys, thank you so much for your support. Thank you again for joining me today. I can't wait for a follow-up maybe in a few months to let me know how things are going and progressing. Nice. And then I'll send over some email intros to a couple of people just to start conversation about Fibre. So that'd be great.
Thank you very much for having me, Mandy, and everyone online this morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We'll see you all later. Have a great day. Bye-bye.